Hello everybody and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be making an updated guide to Giants Keep Abyss Hard. It's been over a year since we've last made a guide on the Giants Keep, and on top of that, I did mention in my Zero to Hero series, if you're one of those amazing people who have been following, I did mention that we were going to make a guide for everything, and that includes Giants Keep. It's nice to always update your guides, I suppose. So here we are. But just so you know what you're looking forward to, or what you're going to see in this video, is that I'm going to be giving you guys a lot of information. I'm going to be explaining things to you guys because it's not enough for me to just show you guys teams. I want to explain to you what the boss even does. So let's not waste time. Let's get into the strategy info. Let's go through the skills, and then we can get to making our teams. So of course the first thing that we got to do is go over the boss's skills, and then we'll go over the crystals. This will make it easier for me to explain to you guys why we're bringing the units that we're bringing. So the first skill of the Giants Keep boss is called Rock Slide. He causes a Rock Slide to attack all enemies. This attack has a fixed chance to stun them for one turn. Of course, the stun is not great, but you can bring units that have immunity, or you could just prevent the boss from moving by using attack bar reduction skills, which we will take advantage of when building our teams. But his skill 2 is called Great Earthquake. He causes an earthquake to inflict great damage on all enemies, that's us, also reducing their attack speed for 3 turns. Now this would be bad, I guess, but do remember that this is a beginner's guide, and the units that you're going to be using, this isn't going to be a big deal for them, especially since, just a hint, we're going to be cleansing this off. So, not that big of a deal. But what is a big deal is this guy's passive called Fend Off, where he counterattacks all enemies immediately after the 7th attack. So, in case you don't understand this passive, anytime, obviously, you attack an enemy, that's going to count towards his passive. By the time he receives his 7th attack, he's going to counterattack. So, units like Lauren or Fran aren't exactly the best here, in the sense that with their basic attacks, they do multiple hits. So like Fran, I believe on her skill 1, she does 3 hits. This will count for 3 attacks on the boss. So you want to use monsters that have single hit attacks. But you can bring multi-hits, but in the beginning, when you're just starting out, you're going to want to avoid it. But another thing to think about is that while you're going to have some units that are tanky on your team, do keep in mind that your squishies, if they get hit with this passive too often, with the counterattack too often, they can die. And I think that's why when this boss first came out, people were having such a hard time beating it, is because their squishies were dying, their damage dealers were dying. So do keep that in mind as well when we go to build the team. But if this dungeon wasn't already hard enough, we do have the crystals that are actively working against us. I mean, you have the left crystal that increases the boss's attack power for 3 turns. You're going to want to remove this off of him if possible, as well as cleansing this defense break that the right crystal is going to be placing on all of your allies. So you can imagine how nasty of a combination this is. I mean, it's a simple combination, but a nasty one at that, where the boss is counterattacking every 7 turns. He has an attack buff as well as placing a defense break on all of you guys. It's going to be really easy for the boss to just him to destroy you guys. But don't worry, we're going to fix this problem with our team. We're going to make it easy for you guys. So let's just get to the team building. I'm stumbling, bro. Okay, so when it comes to making our team, there are a couple things that we have to consider. 1, how well are our units going to perform against the boss? And 2, how well are they going to perform against the waves? Sometimes it's easy for us to forget that the waves are just as important as the boss, because some people don't realize it, but their minute 40 time could really be just them sitting in the boss stage for like 20 seconds at most, and then them spending the other minute and 20 going through the waves. And the reason that this happens is because sometimes the golems freeze you, sometimes they stun you. There is a lot of crowd control happening in the waves, and if you're not prepared, that crowd control is coming from the enemies. So there are a couple ways that we can kind of fight against, super long wave times. We could bring units that cleave, like Lucian, potentially even Harazvil, depending on how you build him. You could also bring units like Akamimir that do a lot of AoE damage, but you could very well bring units like Shannon or Veramos or any other unit that does AoE attack bar reduction or stunning. You could also equip some units that have AoE with Despair. That's the very same thing that I've done with Shannon. She's on Despair, which gives her an extra chance to stun the enemy. So, that's pretty nice. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to mitigate the amount of hits that we're bringing. So a unit like Lucian, while he does work here, he's probably not the best unit in the sense that, once he uses his skill 3, he's not really doing too much. I mean, his skill 2 helps, I guess. But you're really bringing him for the skill 3. And then once we get into the boss stage, we don't want him to use skill 3. It's probably better for us to bring a unit like Veramos. And Veramos serves more purposes than just crowd control. I mean, Veramos brings a lot of damage, and his passive really helps with the boss stage. So, taking a look at Veramos, you'll see that I have him on Despair Focus. In the beginning, they'll give you like violent focus sets or whatever, or even through the Summoner's Way beginner support events or whatever, they'll give you a Despair set. I would throw the Despair set on Veramos, but if you can, very quickly, farm some Despair runes and get him on speed, crit damage, HP. It helps with survivability, and it helps with damage, and you do want him on some type of damage. But the first build you should have him on, just have him tanky. When you can afford to get him on some damage, get him on some damage. But here are his runes for now. He could be better, but this is where he's at. A decent amount of speed, HP, crit rate, crit damage, and a good amount of accuracy. When looking at his skills, his skill 1 doesn't really help us too much when it comes to making our teams, but his other 2 skills do. His skill 2 attacks all enemies to inflict damage that's proportionate to the enemy's max HP, and stuns them with a 40% chance. If the target is not stunned after attacking, decreases the attack bar of the target by 50% with a 100% chance. And you do want to skill up his skill 2. You want to have this as often as possible, because this is a really big source of damage. So when going through the skill, look at a couple things. One, this is attacks all enemies. When you see when some of your units, especially like supports, have AoE attacks all enemies, it's not a bad idea to throw them on Despair, because Despair runes, remember, give them a stun rate of 25%, and that 25% can be amazing. Like I mentioned earlier, the waves will freeze you and stun you and everything. If you can stun them first and prevent them from moving, it allows you to just, get what you need to get done, kill the enemies, and move on. On top of that, though, he does enemies max HP damage, and he stuns. The stuns are also helpful for the waves, but the enemy's max HP damage is very useful for the mid-boss, and especially the Giants boss. The Giants boss has a bunch of HP. Units that do basic attack damage, like a unit like, who knows, maybe like this guy right here, right? It's just like, he's not going to be super powerful here. It's better to bring units that have enemies max HP damage. Plus, units that have enemies max HP damage, you could build them semi-tanky, and they're still going to do a lot of damage, since their damage is based off of the enemy's HP, not attack. But it's going to be helpful for clearing out the Giants boss, because you're going to get a lot of damage out, and you'll see that as we do a run or two. But on top of that, so he already has a bunch of crowd control, has a bunch of damage. But one thing that you may not have considered is the Giants boss can't be stunned. He's immune to stun. But Veramos counters that problem, because if you read closely, if the target is not stunned after attacking, which again, the boss is immune to stun, since he can't be stunned, he's going to fall within the requirements of not being stunned. So it allows Veramos to reduce the attack bar of the boss. And remember earlier when we were going through the skills and saying that we don't want the boss to stun us or decrease our attack speed through his skill 1 and skill 2? Veramos is going to help by decreasing the boss's attack bar. So his skill 2 offers a lot to us. On top of that, we do get this passive where he removes a harmful effect except inability effects. Inability effects are stuff like stuns and freezes, and I believe sleep as well, on all allies each turn, and the allies will recover their HP by 5% for each harmful effect removed. This is obviously a big deal. The decreased attack speed, if the boss does land it on you, he will cleanse this off, and it'll heal your allies. So you also have a bit of healing. But on on top of that, you're talking about the defense break that right crystal is providing. Yeah, you don't want that on you for long. Thankfully, Veramoss will cleanse it off, healing you guys in the process. In addition, your attack bar increases by 15% for each harmful effect remaining on the ally after attacking each turn. This is good because if your units do manage to get frozen in the waves, this is going to count towards the attack bar increasing, which will allow him to get his next turn faster, allowing him to do more damage faster. So, all around, a really amazing unit for Giants, and not only in Giants, he's useful in other places. So, Veramoss is a good pick. Despair, or you want to get Despair runes on him, and later on down the line, I mean, you see that it's like, I have Rage runes, I have all that on this account, I still keep him on Despair. That's his best kit in my opinion. But next unit. A unit like Shannon is not a bad choice to bring into the Giants Keep. I mean, Shannon provides so much for us. Her skill 1 will attack the enemy and place a glancing hit potentially on them, and also absorbs the attack bar. So absorbing the attack bar again is good for the Giants boss, preventing him from moving, but the glancing hit is a pretty big deal. For those of you who don't know what a glancing hit does, when an ally or an enemy performs a glancing hit, all it allows them to do is just a small instance of damage. Enemies or allies cannot land debuffs when performing glancing hits. They cannot crit. They can't do massive damage. So if you can get the boss to place glancing hits, or you can even potentially get the waves to do glancing hits, you're set, right? It prevents them from doing a lot of damage. It prevents them from freezing you or decreasing attack speed or whatever it is. On top of that, her skill 2 attacks all enemies. Remember what I said earlier, attacks all enemies. Get them on Despair. Attacks all enemies to decrease their attack speed for 2 turns. That's really good. Decreasing the attack speed on the waves is good because it prevents them from moving, allowing you to get more turns out, allowing you to kill them, as well as decreasing the attack speed of the Giants boss. If you can decrease the attack speed of the Giants boss, he moves less, meaning that the only thing that you ever have to worry about is the counterattacks. She also absorbs their attack bar by 10% with an 80% chance. And pay attention to that sentence. It absorbs. So she will take that attack bar, allowing her to move more often. But like I mentioned, you're still going to have to worry about the counterattack from the boss, which she helps with that because she increases the attack power and defense of all allies for 3 turns. So even if you do manage to get defense broken, you're pretty much counteracting that with a defense buff of your own. Plus again, and an attack buff is really good. So all around, Shannon is amazing. Despair Energy is a really good build for her speed on HP defense, whatever you can get her. You want her to be pretty fast, tanky, and accurate. Make sure she's landing all of this. But yeah. Moving on, we're going to place Bella Dion on our team. Bella Dion is an amazing unit. She's not only good for Giants, she's really amazing in the Ice Beast. But she places a defense break on the enemy that she attacks for 2 turns. And she also decreases their attack bar. More attack bar decreasing. Amazing. But defense breaks are going to be really important, especially when it comes to like Veramoss' skill 2. Remember that Veramoss' skill 2 does damage based off of the enemy's max HP. Defense breaking the boss is going to allow us to do more damage, which is really awesome. Plus, again, attack bar decreasing. Skill 2 attacks the enemy and removes all beneficial effects on the target. Remember earlier when I mentioned that the left crystal will place an attack buff on the boss? This is going to help with that. Bella Dion will use the skill 2 and strip off the attack buff, preventing the boss from doing as much damage as possible. Recovers your attack bar by 30% if you attack the enemy with this skill and they have no beneficial effects on them when you attack. So, in case Bella Dion does waste this, it helps her get her next turn quicker so this can get off of cooldown faster. On top of that though, Bella Dion does offer a bit of safety thanks to her 3rd skill, where she fills the attack bar of all allies by 30% and recovers their HP by 35%. So we do get a bit of healing, plus we get attack bar pushing, which is amazing considering that we're going to get more turns out of this. So more turns for us. So Bella Dion is an amazing choice. After that, we are going to pick our damage dealer, which of course we're going to bring Crow. The game gives you Crow for free, and he's an amazing choice. Plus, you're going to use him everywhere else in the game pretty much, except for maybe Necropolis. But even then, you could use him there too. But Crow is amazing for a variety of reasons. One, Skill 1 has defense break plus continuous damage, which the continuous damage I guess you could use in the waves, but continuous damage doesn't matter on the boss stage. Skill 2 teams up with another ally to attack an enemy. The damage increases by 20% for each harmful effect on the enemy. And this effect also applies to the ally who attacks with him every 3 turns. So think about the amount of debuffs that we have on the boss, right? We have a defense break, we have a glancing hit, we have a slow, I can't remember what else, but we already have 3, so that's a 60% damage increase from any of our allies, so that's really nice. But the most important part about Crow is his skill 3, where he attacks on the enemy's wounds to leave a branding effect for 2 turns. Branding, I believe, increases the damage an enemy will receive by 25%, if I recall. But the damage increases by 50% for each harmful effect on the enemy. And already we've mentioned that the boss has like 3 of them, so that's a 150% damage increase. So this is really cool. Now the 5th unit that we're going to pick will pretty much cover any of our weak spots if we have them. If we feel like we don't have enough crowd control for the waves, then we can feel in a position there. If we feel like we don't have enough chances to defense break an enemy, we could pick one there. Or if you really feel like you don't have a weak spot at all, you can just bring another damage dealer. Naomi is not a bad choice. I think it's worth investing into Naomi since the runes that you're going to be throwing on her aren't widely used. I mean, here's my Naomi. You could throw her on Fatal Energy, just throw on an attack, crit damage attack, and she needs no crit rate in the substats thanks to her passive. Her passive is the critical rate will be at 100% if the enemy has no aura that they do have harmful effects. My bad. The inflicted damage will increase by 20% for each harmful effect granted on the enemy. So this damage increase is for all of her skills. She does stun the enemy on her skill 1, and then she also places a branding on her skill 2. That, and she decreases the attack bar of the enemy by 25% with each attack. The only bad thing about her is that she attacks twice, but that's whatever. So let's try a run with this team and let's see how it goes. Now I'm aware that, of course, my rune quality is much better than a beginner's, but within the first month of you playing this game, you will achieve this rune quality. I promise you, you will. And if you don't believe me, you can go watch the Zero to Hero series where we're a little bit over 30 days in, and we have like units that have amazing runes. They have enchantment gems. They have grindstones on them. So it is completely possible for you to do this within your first month. But even then, even if you don't have enchantment gems or grindstones, while you might not get the same exact time as me, you will get a time similar to mine, right? Give or take 20 or 30 seconds. But this team is amazing. It's very, very safe, and it offers a lot of damage. I mean, you see how fast we're blitzing through this. But there's the branding, 20k branding. That's sad. But remember, the boss does have a lot of HP. So that, and it seems like we didn't have attack buff. 54k from you, 54k from you. Look at this. Boop. The boss did nothing. He couldn't stun us. He couldn't decrease our attack speed because he has glancing on him. So we did get a minute 17, which is nice. Let's make another team. So as you progress through the game, you're going to get access to a lot of units. And one of those units is Akamamir, the Wind Ifrit. And I highly suggest that you aim for this guy. If you want to know how to get this guy, I'm going to show you right now. By joining a guild, you will gain access to the guild shop, which will allow you to buy Ifrit pieces. You could buy up to 5 a week, meaning that within 2 weeks, if you farm enough, which you're probably not going to, but within a month, it is totally possible to get enough Ifrit pieces to summon at least one Ifrit. Now, you do have the chance to either get a water, fire, or wind, so you have like a 33% chance to get him. But when you do get him, I promise you he's worth it. What makes Akamamir so amazing is his kit. I mean, you only need to get these 2 skills skilled up, by the way. You could use Devilmons, or you could fuse them. I know a lot of people say just fuse the skill ups. I'm not doing all that. And I know y'all ain't doing all that either. That's too much work. But a skill 1 attacks with magical powers and inflicts continuous damage for 2 turns. We don't care about this. But he does increase damage according to attack speed, so you could throw some attack speed on him. But his skill 2 and skill 3 are, what's really amazing about him. His skill 2 pretty much shares the same attributes as Veramos' skill 2, where he does enemies max HP, he stuns, reduces attack bar if the enemy does not get stunned, right? His skill 3, though, is called Mock Crush, where he attacks all enemies 2 times with powerful magic energy to disturb the HP recovery for 2 turns. So now we get another debuff. So that's 4 now, right? And to deal damage that increases by 30% for each harmful effect on the enemies. So now he's also like Naomi and Crow, where he does damage based off of harmful effects. The damage increases by 50% if there is only 1 harmful effect on the enemy. So this is really good, and this is every 3 turns, so he can get this off quite often. And when you pay attention to all of his skills, he has 2 AoEs. So it's not a bad idea to throw him on Despair like I have, right? I have him on 94% crit rate, 193% crit damage. This is not bad. I mean, this is something that you can achieve. I mean, this doesn't even have too many grinds on him. He could be better. He could be way better. But let's see him in a run. One thing that I think I already mentioned this. Dude, I have so much going through my mind. I'm already forgetting everything. But Akamimir is especially great as compared to Naomi. I think he's better than Naomi when it comes to the Giants floor because of his AoEs. It really does help. I mean, we have 3 units right now that does AoE damage, so we really don't have to worry about the waves messing us up. Except for just now, where we get frozen. But, you see he's coming in clutch. He's doing a good amount of damage, too. So, this is really cool. Boom. Yeah, Veramos, Shannon, and him doing AoE damage. Veramos and him doing attack bar reduction with their skill 2. As well as Shannon doing attack bar reduction, that boss is not moving. And if he does move, he's almost dead when that happens. So you're seeing we're clearing this pretty fast. And again, that Akamimir could be way better. So he didn't do too much there, but that's fine. Didn't have an attack buff. That's the problem, is that Shannon didn't place the attack buff. 66k on skill 2. 73... Let's see. I think he would have his skill 3 up, right? No. 25k skill 1. 15, 18. So, he's helpful with the waves. It would be nice to get an AoE defense breaker, other than Belladon, but Belladon is great for the healing. But, we're going to continue to alter this team. Let's switch around another unit. So that's a minute 35. Okay, so by switching out Shannon with Harazvelg, it opens up a couple more opportunities for us. So let's go look through his kit, and I can explain the difference and the pros and cons by switching him out. His skill 1 attacks an enemy to inflict continuous damage for 1 turn with a 50% chance. This doesn't matter to us. His skill 2, though, is a little bit different from Shannon's, where Shannon's is an AoE, attack speed slow, and attack bar reduction. His is a single target attack that leaves a branding effect for 2 turns. He also increases his own attack bar by 50%. The target with branding effects will receive 25% increased damage, which is cool. So he places branding, which if he moves before Crow or Akamimir or any of them, and he could place this on like the Giants boss, for example, this will be really nice for damage. But skill 3 becomes possessed with an unstoppable rage and attacks all enemies, and he increases the attack power and attack speed of all allies for 2 turns. Goes under the Berserk state for 3 turns. Afterwards, under the Berserk state, the defense is decreased by 30%, but the damage dealt to enemies is increased by 100%, and attack speed is increased by 20%, and HP is recovered by 10% of the damage dealt every 3 turns. So, we lose the defense buff, we lose glancing, we lose slows. Our teams are a little bit more squishy, but Harazvelg makes up for it. I mean, we're increasing our attack speed, which allows us to take more turns. Plus, if you want to, you can throw Harazvelg on Despair, which will allow him to Despair stun the waves. But the cool thing about Harazvelg is that he's dealing a whole bunch of damage, and you'll see just how fast we're clearing the waves with this guy. So let's just hop in. But I've used Harazvelg before. I've made a spotlight video on him. I suggest checking it out because he's really cool. He's really fun too. But as you can see, 21k skill 2, 8k right there. I mean, we cleared that pretty fast. And he has his attack buff ready for the next turn. So I believe Shannon, her buff is every 4 turns, right? And his is every 2 turns. But so you get an attack buff faster. But you should only do this if you have enough accuracy and your monsters can tank a couple hits maybe. But I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem. But look at that. I mean, you see how fast the clear is. Hrazvilk clearly shows that he's worth building and putting on your Giants team. I love having him on my team. Jesus Christ. Branding, which is cool. 74k, 19k. He outspeeds Crow, so 88k. Not bad. This team is doing pretty good. 32k, 18, 21, 52. So we do take a big hit there. Some units die, but that's fine because we kill. So how much is that going to be? A minute 11. Not bad at all. Let's do one more unit. So this right here, I would consider like the ultimate free-to-play team. I mean, I think this is as good as it gets as far as I'm aware. I mean, you could switch around like maybe a unit or two and potentially get like a couple seconds faster. I think, again, this is as good as it gets. I mean, you have Veramos. He's a fusion monster. You're going to get him really early on in the game. Shannon is the same way, where you can get her through the Summoner's Way missions, but you could also get her through Unknown Scrolls, but you'll get her early on. Belladon you'll get through secret dungeons. Akamamir you'll get from the guild shop. I've explained all this. But this other guy that you see here, he's titled Baby Drop, or Void Drop, my bad. Void Drop. He's the homunculus attack form, where you could get him through the crafting building. So let's go take a look. By going into the crafting building and then going to the homunculus tab, you'll see him right here. Once you start farming the Rift Beasts and you get all the crystals, you can craft this guy, and one of his skill paths allow you to do damage based off of enemies' max HP on all of his skills. So this is the path that you want to go. Let me go show you his runes and skills. So starting off with the skill 1, he attacks the enemy target to deal damage proportionate to the target's max HP and decreases the defense for 2 turns with a 30% chance. So defense break and then enemy's max HP on skill 1, that's really good. His skill 2 attacks the enemy target to deal damage proportionate to the target's max HP and stuns the target for 1 turn. If the target is immune to stun, the damage increases by 100% every 2 turns. So another target's max HP damage, but you could stun, but you can increase the damage by 100% if the target is immune to stun, which the Giants boss is immune to stun. So this is going to be really big damage, and you're going to get to see this. Oh my gosh. And of course you want to skill all these up. His third skill attacks the enemy target to deal damage proportionate to the target's max HP. Again, another enemy's max HP thing, and decreases the defense for 2 turns. So you have decreased defense on this guy, plus a bunch of enemies' max HP damage. It's insane. You can start him off on Fatal Blade, but of course, when you do get the opportunity, switch him to attack, crit damage, attack. You see he's on a lot of crit damage. His artifacts, skill 3, skill 4, crit damage, skill 2, crit damage. Crit damage as enemies' HP is more, or max. Damage dealt on water, crit damage as enemies' HP is more, yada yada. You get the point. Let's see him in action. Plus, we have Shannon back, so we get defense buffs, we get attack buffs. The cool thing also about the homunculus, I thought I had Shannon in here. What happened? Well, we'll have Shannon next time. But the cool thing about him is if he somehow dies, which he won't, but if he somehow does die, the homunculus specifically will revive at the moment of death with a certain amount of HP. And while you can't control him, he will receive it, what was it? I think 30% increased attack buff and continue to fight. While you can't control him, this is really good because if the boss does kill him, he'll just revive and continue to attack. So, really cool. But we'll get to see this in action as we continue. Boom, 32k. So, attack buff, defense break. Let's see. 34k. But now we have branding on there. Which that's something Hrazvilk offers over Shannon. 39k skill 1, which is really nice. But we're not getting to see him, we're not going to get to see him do skill 2, are we? Veramos is dead. Okay, that was 80k. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was like what? A minute 16. Let's change around Hrazvilk for Shannon, because I thought I'd change around Hrazvilk for Shannon. That was crazy. Where is she? Here she is. We can also put Akamemir as a leader, and we can get attack speed in case we're worried about moving. But it's probably better to have Veramos as a leader. So boom. There we go. Pep talk. 14k. Let's do it again. Cool thing is, we don't need the attack buff really. 56k. Nice. Because it's like, again, damage is based off of enemies' max HP and not our attack. But he still does good damage on all of his skills. I mean, even if he was only doing 30k, 40k, 50k, whatever, throughout the last fight, remember, that's on all of his skills. But if we can get the right setup, which we'll probably get to see in this video, it's just like he will do a bunch of damage. 91,000. That's the highest damage I think we've seen this video. Pep talk. Boom. Shannon makes it safer. 130,000 damage. Yeah. Yes, please. 56 seconds. So, yeah. I think that should be good enough. I mean, that was dang near completely free to play, given with the exception of Hrazvilg, but you don't need Hrazvilg. I mean, you can still pop Shannon off. I mean, Shannon will do amazing here. And it's like, these units could be far better with more grinds, better runes. But, yeah, I hope this helped you in beating the Giants Keep Abyss floor. But until the next guide or until the next video, I'll see you guys in the comment section. Who knows? Peace.